As of September 2020, 182,815 persons registered to vote. A little over 93,000 are female, while 89,000 are males. The smallest division is Fort George, with 1,876 registered voters. The largest division is Stanquick West, with 9,864 voters. Most of the divisions in Belize City are below 4,000, while divisions such as Belmopan and Kaya North have over 8,000 voters. Malapportionment. That is why the Belize Peace Movement says that a redistricting exercise needs to be carried out. Both major political parties agreed. They also agree, however, that it should be done after the general elections when a new government is formed. But the B.P.M wanted the redistricting exercise be done or its substantive case be heard before November 11th, which is why it requested that the court grant an interim injunction to stay the general elections. Chief Justice Michelle Arana heard the arguments this morning virtually. Representing the Belize Peace Movement was attorney Arthur Saldivar, who argued that the elections would be unconstitutional and unfair if the malapportionment issue is not addressed.
That the people of Belize are deserving of a free and fair election, that elections serve the democracy does not serve elections. As a result, people are to be given the same value for their vote, no matter where they live or where they're from. It should not be that the Garifuna from Stan Creek District has a vote that values less than a Creole in Belize City, or the Maya from Toledo has a vote that is less than a Mestizo in Orange Walk. We need to ensure that the Constitution and the principles that the Constitution was designed to uphold are in fact upheld. And insofar as we have politicians that don't appreciate, understand, or respect the Constitution, we will always have injustice in Belize.
But Saldivar's arguments did not convince the Chief Justice that his client would suffer irreparable harm if the elections are held in November. The government's Attorney Assistant Solicitor General Samantha Matu-Tucker argued that the court does not have jurisdictions to rule on the matter because the Governor General has already issued a writ of elections and, in the wider schemes of things, the election process has begun. C.J. Arana agreed, ruling that the court does not have inherent jurisdiction on this matter. Joining as interested parties was the People's United Party, which was represented by Senior Counsel Eamon Courtney.
The party has been preparing for elections for well over a year. Substantial amount of monies have been spent, plans have been developed, programs have been developed and shared with the Belizean people, and the organization necessary to win the elections are virtually complete. So any delay in this process would have been highly prejudicial to the party and to our candidates. In terms of the legal argument, I think the Acting Chief Justice came to the correct decision. You all heard the submissions that we made. And the primary submission is that once the election process starts, and it started when the Prime Minister advised the Governor General to dissolve the National Assembly, and having dissolved the National Assembly to set a date for election. Once that process has started, then the Constitution provides that if anybody is dissatisfied with the outcome of the election, they must go by way of election petition to seek to set aside the election result. The claimants in this case know the law. They are well aware of when elections were due. They filed a claim from last year, and they sat down and waited until Parliament was dissolved and then said, well, we now want an injunction to restrain the holding of the elections. That was entirely misconceived in law. And in fact, I believe it was just grandstanding and attempting to have their 15 minutes of fame.
Courtney pointed out to the court, even if the court was to grant the injunction and a redistrict exercise was to take place, that would require a functioning parliament, but the House has been dissolved.
Even if the court were to say that you have jurisdiction in this matter, then what is it that they're asking for? They're asking for this court to say that no election should be held until there has been redivisioning. But redivisioning is carried out by Parliament. Parliament has been dissolved. So to hold the whole nation hostage until redivisioning takes place practically makes no sense. In fact, in one of the cases, the Privy Council said that that was absurd.
Saldivar says that his client will appeal the ruling.
For all intent and purposes, should there not be a challenge, the elections are a go. Our fight has never been against the election. It's simply that it is the position of the Belize Peace Movement that the elections held on the first schedule of the Representation of the People's Act would be unconstitutional. There is an expert report that was produced that says that 71% of all the divisions in Belize are malapportioned to such an extreme extent that we do not have democracy in Belize. But suffice it to say, those who have been in opposition for the past 15 years are sufficiently hungry to ignore that reality and want to have power by any means necessary.
Reporting for News 5, Hipolito, Novelo.